We're done with that. So before we write any code in our context and do the modification, we have to do a little bit setup in our context. So here you can see, here we are getting all the contract addresses and the ABI. So this is the previous two token. Here we have the single swap, multi-hop, and this is the with address. Here we're going to import the contract. So remember we have created this contract. So what is this contract? So this is the contract we have created, user data dot solve, and that's what we're going to build this. And that's what we're going to export here. Okay, so we haven't deployed this contract, but let's build the system. Once we have that ready, all we have to do is to provide the address and it will work fine. So we can come here, we can say user storage data, and if I make any spelling mistake, please forgive me for that. Let me zoom a bit, and here we're going to call this export const, and I'm going to say that user storage data address, and here we're going to pass the address of the contract, and here we're going to export the ABI. Export const, and here we're going to say user storage data ABI. So right now we don't have that, but we have this function. So ready? That's fine to me. Now what we can do is simply come here, and that's what we're going to utilize it in here. So we can come here, we can close this contract, and here we can go to this API feature, because here we are building the connection with the contract. So if you come here, if you scroll all the way down, so these are the contract we have built that connections now. Here we're going to call that, we'll say user CONTRA contract connection. Okay, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply copy this one. So copy this part, and that's what I'm going to paste here. That's fine to me. Now if we come here, and here first we have to import the addresses, the two addresses we have here. So we're going to import this, copy that, and that's what we're going to import it here. And that's also this one, we go to ABI user one, and that's what I'm going to import here. That's fine to me. Now let's come here, and here we have to do the modification. So this is where it is. We have written so many script, you can see that. So this is the user section. Let me give this, and here I have to pass the address. So this one is going to be the ABI. Yes, it is an ABI, and now I have to get the address. We're just building the setup, and here we have the address. So that's fine to me. Now I want to change the name of this contract, so let's do it. And here we're going to change the name. So this will become the, let's say, user storage, and let's make it, this one is contract. Make sure to do these major changes, and all you have to do is simply grab this one, and that's what you have to pass here. So here we have that. So in the API feature, you can see we have written so many scripts to connect with the contract, because we have built so many contracts. So that looks fine to me. Now all you have to do is to simply grab this one, and we can done with the setups. We're done with this part. Here we're going to pass the real API and the address, but right now we don't have that. So let's go like this. Come here, and here what I'm going to do is let's close this one and go to the context and go to the swap context. And now we're going to start working on the functionality. So first thing we have to do is here we're going to import the user. So this is the first import, the contract which we want to interact with, and now we have to import. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply reorder this. So let's bring this up. All the files import one side, and these are the APIs. So here we're going to import. So let's come here, and we close this one, come back to the utils. Inside the utils, you will find we have all this functionality. So we have already imported this get price and user update price. Now we have to get the liquidity one. Okay. So first thing we have to do, come here, and we have to say import, and let's click on this liquidity. Okay, come here. What is the function name we have called? Okay, liquidity example. That's what I'm going to copy, and that's what I'm going to call here. And this coming from utils. We have utils. Inside the utils, we have this add liquidity. So this is the one import we have. Now I have to import the other one, which is a, let's say, the second import I have is connecting with pool contract. Now we have the second one we have is the get liquidity data. So which one is that? This is the one. If I scroll down, where is the function? So this is the function. Where is the function? Okay, this is the function we have. Get liquidity data. Come here, and that's what we go to import. And this coming from that dash utils / we have this check liquidity. Check liquidity. Now we can come here. We have to import our pool. So where is the pool? This is the pool, and what is the function name we have given? Connecting with pool contracts. We copy that one, and that's what we're going to import it here. And that's coming from dash utils pool deploy. We are working with so many scripts. Okay, so when you build an application like this, which is so huge, going with a different functionality, then this is how you should be architecturing. Okay, so these are the pretty good things we have done here. So let's come here. So we're done with this import. We're done with this utility imports. Here we have the API, and this is the context. And here we can come down. And here we will take another use state, and this use state will contain all the liquidity which a user will create on our API, on our application. So we'll say use state snippet, and here I'm going to take it. I'll call it get all liquidity. DIT all liquidity. I believe I'm writing the right spelling. If I make any spelling mistake, please forgive me for that. So here we have the data. In this, we're going to store all the liquidity which a user will create. And now, what I will do for the time being, here actually we're on the focus, and that's good to me. No problem we have here. Now we have to come back into the, and now we can start working on this get all liquidity data. Let's build the functionality. I know that there's no data into this, but let's build the functionality. So let's come here, and that's function we're going to create right up here. So right here. We'll say get liquidity, and this we're going to build the functionality. So first thing we have to do is we have to come down. We'll take a const. We'll say user storage data, and we already have a contract. We have to get the contract. We'll say connecting with a pool contract, connecting with a user, and what is the name we have given in our function? So let's come here. Here we have that connecting with user storage contract, and that's the function we're going to call it here. Once we have the function, let's come down here, and now we're going to take this data. Once we get that, we'll say user liquidity liquidity. We'll say await, and we'll say user storage data. So we have the user storage data contract. That's what we're going to pass it here, and we're going to call the function. So it's a const. So make sure you don't make this spelling mistake. And what is the function we have called into this? So this is user storage data, and what is the function we have into the contract? So let's come here into the contract, and this is the contract we are accessing. And to get the data, all we have to do is to We'll call this get all transaction. So let's call this function, and that's the function we're going to call it. This will give us the data. This function we will call. This will return us the data, and now once we get the data, let's console.log, and we want to log the user liquidity data. Okay, so this is the one thing we have to do, and what I want, let's do one thing. We don't need this. We don't need this anymore. Remove this one. Remove this one. It looks clean. So once we have the data, now what we're going to do is, and this data will come in the form of array. So let's do one thing. We have the data, user liquidity, and then we're going to run this map function, and it's going to be async function. So we'll say async functions element I. And from here we have to get the three important data. We need a pool address, we need the token address, and we need the token one address. And we have it into this. So we'll say, let's say pool address. Now we have to take the element dot token address 0, and we have to take the another one which is a 1. So these are the data we are getting. Once we have the data, now what do we have to do? Can you guess? And this array will have the data. So what we can do? So const, and then we're going to call this liquidity data. And here we're going to call the functions. So the function we have is get all liquidity. Get liquidity data. So this is the function we have, and we're going to simply call that. So remember, this is the function we have created. If we come up here, and you can see this is the function is coming from the check liquidity, and this will give us the liquidity data, all the liquidity data. So we have that, and then we have to pass the data. So the data we want to pass is element pool address. We have to pass the token address 1, and we have to pass the another one which is a 2. So these are the two data we're passing into this get liquidity address, and once we have the data will come right up here. Once we have the data here, what we're going to do is we're going to call this get all liquidity. So once we have the data in here, this is what we have taken here. Here we have taken a variable. So the variable we have taken this get all liquidity. So here we have get all liquidity. Come here, we're going to simply push this into an array, and we're going to push this liquidity data. So this is the data we're pushing. Now come here, and we're going to simply console.log the get liquidity. Hope this entire thing makes sense. So we are using our get liquidity data, and that we are passing, because get liquidity data function need these three address: pool address, token 0, and token 1. So hope this makes sense to all of you guys. If you still have any confusion, make sure to rewatch and try to understand what we are doing here. Okay, and these are the only thing we have to do into this fetch data function. Okay, so we are done with this function. It looks pretty fine to me, and now we can actually start working on liquidity. And now we can start working on create and add liquidity function. So we'll say, that looks fine to me. Let's bring this swap down here, and I'm going to write it down. So right now, I'm going to create a function. Let's say create UUID liquidity and pool, because this function will do both things. It's going to be async function, and in this function we're going to pass a couple of data. So the data we want to take into this function is the token 1, the first token address. Now we need the token 2 address, and we need the fee we want to charge, and we need the token price 1, and we need the token price 2. We need a slippage, we need a deadline, we need the token amount 0, and we need the token amount 1. We're taking so many data into this function because our creating liquidity needs that. So hope this makes sense to all of you. Now let's come here, and here we go to build the logic. So first thing we have to do is we have to take a try and catch. Otherwise, if anything goes wrong, we have to catch that error, and we want to simply console.log the error, log the entire error. So we'll say error object, and that's fine to me. Now let's come here. Here we're going to simply first we'll create the pool, because we'll create a pool, because if we want to add liquidity, we need the address of the pool. So we're going to create pool address first, then we're going to add liquidity. So let's come here. So let's say create pool. So we'll take a variable and say create pool, and we have a weight, and we have the function. So if you come up here, we have the function. So where it is, this is the function we have created, connecting with pool contracts. So we grab that one, and that's what we're going to call it here. So we have the contract in that, and then we have to pass the data. So to create a pool, we need to pass data. And if you come here into the utils, into the utils in the deploy pool section, you can see these are the data we need. These are the 5 data we need, and these are the data we need to pass here. So let's come here, and with the first data we want to pass the token address. First token address, we'll pass the second one, and we have to pass the fee we want to charge, and we have to pass the token price. So we have taken the token price, and then we have to pass the token price to 5 data. Once we get done with that, now we have to set the gas limit which we want to spend for creating the pool. So here we're going to save it gas limit with close to, let's say, 5, and that looks good to me. So these are the data we are passing into this, and this will have the data once the function executes successfully. We can come here and we can take a variable, say const pool address, and here we're going to assign that create pool. Okay, hope makes sense. Now here we'll build the functionality for adding liquidity. So we have the address of the pool, and we have the address of the tokens. Now we can create liquidity. So we'll say create like UUID liquidity. So here we're going to take this const, we'll say info will say await, and here we're going to call this add liquidity external function. So we have this function we have imported, and where it is, so add liquidity data, we have this function. So this function will create a liquidity, add liquidity. So let's come here, and here we're going to call and in this we have to pass the data. So the data we want to assign to create a liquidity, like the token addresses, token address 1, token address number 2, and we have to assign the pool address. Here we have taken, so this is the pool address we have taken. We have that information. Now we have to assign the fee, we have to assign the token amount 1, and token amount this. So this looks pretty good to me. And if we come here, let's make it this. Let's call it, because this ONP1, and this will come to TW2. So we can make the difference, okay, this address, because everything started with T, so it's become quite confusing. So here we're going to pass this, and this will become Joe. So these are the data we are passing into our add liquidity external. And once we have that, that looks pretty good to me. Now let's come here. Once the transaction went successful, we want to simply console log the info to see info. And now, once the transaction is successful, we have to store the information of the pool address and the two tokens. So we can fetch that liquidity information, and we have already built the functionality. Okay. So what I can do here, I can simply come here. Let's come bring it down, and it will say add data. UID liquidity. Okay. Add data. That looks fine to me. Now come here. We'll take a few commands. We'll say user storage data, user storage data, and we have to store the data. So we'll say await, and for storing that we have the function we have built. So let's come here, and here we have the function. So here it is. User storage data. This is the contract we have created. So now we have to get the contract. So this is the function we have. So if we come here, if we go to the feature section, here you can see this is the function we have built just now. User storage contract. So we already got this, and here we are importing that, and that's the function we're going to call right up here to store the user information. So let's call the function. In this way we can get the entire contract. Once we have the contract, we'll say user QU liquidity, and we'll say user. We have the contract. Await, we have the contract, and here we're going to call the function. So the function we have inside the contract for adding the user information. Let's check what is the name we have given to user storage data. Okay, this is the function that allows us to add the data. Come here, and that's what we're going to call. So this will return us the entire data, and in this we have to add the data. So simply come here, we're going to add the data like pool address. We have to add the token 1 address, and we have to add the token 2 address. That's fine to me. So we are adding the data. So what we have done in this create liquidity and pools, first we are taking this input from the user, then we are creating the pool address here, then we are assigning the liquidity because we need the pool address to create a liquidity. Once we done both the things, okay, we create the pool, we create the liquidity. After that we are storing this in the store user data, so we can fetch the liquidity which created by user. Hope this makes sense to all of you guys. These are very crucial things which you have to understand. Okay, and that's pretty much we have to do in here. Okay, so that's the only thing we have to do. So we have the data in. So now what we can do is we need this data, because this data, in this we have all the data about the liquidity, and that's what we're going to display in front end. So let's simply export that, simply export it here, and we have to get the functions we have created. So the first function we have created, let me close this one. Okay, now so this is the create liquidity with create liquidity and pool. Simply grab this one, and that's the function we're going to simply call here. Okay, that's it. Hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you guys. If you still have any confusion, do leave in the comment section, okay, because these are the very important things which you have to make it right. And that's the only thing we have to do. Simply close this one, and now we can start working and getting some real data from the front end.